events what happened in the toss?
Well, it's been a pretty interesting day, and the game's moved forwards quite quickly. Obviously, we would have liked to have posted more batting first, on getting first use of a surface that didn't have a lot in it for the seamers. But having said that, 280's got us in the game, and picking up 2 wickets tonight certainly helped. I suppose it comes down to, once again, we say it so often, but I think the first hour tomorrow morning is going to be extremely important, and whoever wins that hour is going to be well placed in the game.
How crucial was that last wicket, the last ball of the day, right?
Well, it's very crucial for, obviously it boosts the morale, etc. But David Warner is such a quick and free scoring batsman, and while he's there, he's releasing the pressure quite quickly because he's finding boundaries. So to see the back of him, I think, is a big boost.
Losing the 2 openers too early in the morning, was it a setback?
Oh, absolutely. We found ourselves in that position quite a lot recently. So we keep hoping that we're going to get a good start. If you get a good start in place, it always settles the dressing room, and everybody's that much more confident. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be, but very pleasing once again to see the Sri Lankan fight coming through and a really good fight back.
Kusal Pereira had virtually opened the innings in the morning. So how do you see and assess his way of taking up the challenge?
Taking up the challenge of what?
Playing at number 3 and as a virtual opener.
Well, he's opened many times, so batting at 3, as we saw today, is 1 ball difference, so it's not as though it's a big adjustment for him at all. He's capable of batting in the middle order, and he's capable of batting up top, so he's settled in there nicely and did a very, very important job.
Could you just talk us through what prompted you to play him at number 3?
Well, a number of reasons, but obviously Kusal Mendes batted so well at 4, so we feel that's a spot that we'd like to see him bat in the future and build our batting around him. The other thing is that on these sort of surfaces, as the game goes on, or as the innings goes on, it often becomes harder to score, and Pereira is a very attacking player and finds boundaries easily, and when the ball's coming on, that's when he's at his best. So we didn't want to leave him too far down the order when it's tough to score.
How tough is it going to be to bat in the last innings here?
I hope it's going to be very tough in the last innings. Yeah.
Do you think the pitch is going to really deteriorate?
I think it's going to take more spin than the last test. There's some signs of some real turn on day 1, so one would think that as the game goes on, there will definitely be a lot of assistance for the spinners. So batsmen are going to be tested out on their technique against spin.
Graham, Australia has picked 2 spinners, but it's still putting a lot of emphasis on its pace attack, which worked okay for them today. I just wonder what Australia's quicks were doing with the ball today, and whether you think that they're going to be a factor in the second half of the match as well.
Look, they're such high quality bowlers that they're always a factor on any surface, and I think today we maybe were guilty of 1 or 2 softish dismissals early on, but then later on they got the ball to reverse and controlled it beautifully with some pretty extreme reverse swing. So it was highly skillful stuff, and whoever's out there batting, it's difficult, and it's particularly difficult for a batsman who's just come in. If you face the reverse swing for a while, you start to feel a little more comfortable, but for the new batter getting in, it's particularly tough, and they've got the skill. They've obviously worked hard at it, and when it's reversing at high pace, it's not easy.
And sorry, where would you sort of rank Starc at the moment in pace bowlers around the world?
I'm not really in the business of publicly rating opposition, so I won't really comment on that. But he's certainly one of the best quicks around.
Andrew?
Angelo batted quite quickly. He seemed to have come out with quite a lot of content. Was there a talk about playing, a little bit more aggressively before the match? Was that a plan for the batter?
Look, we've always wanted to bat reasonably positively. The problem where we haven't got off to good starts has sometimes led to us having to play a little more defensively. But we've always wanted to try and play positively and keep the game going forwards. And Angelo is very capable against spin bowling, and I think he looks to try and score off them and try and disrupt them. That's very much a Sri Lankan way. Certainly when I first started with Sri Lanka, it was the general approach headed by Mahela. So no surprise that Angelo played the way he did.
Last Bill, Graham, in Falakele we saw a lot of the Australian wickets falling to balls that were not spinning, that were skidding on, and that little bit of variation. Here we've already seen bigger spin and a wicket from the outside edge, which we didn't see there. Do you think that contrast can be a difficult thing to adjust to in the space of a couple of test matches?
Well, I think anybody batting when some balls are turning quite sharply and some are running on straight, for anybody that's tough. And I think as the game goes on, we'll see quite a bit of that. I think both sides have bowlers that are capable of turning it a great deal, and also capable of bowling sliders or balls that run on straight. So it's going to be challenging for the batters here.
Last question, Rex.
Graham, obviously, you've been involved in a lot of games here in God with the Sri Lankan team. Can I ask you for your memories as a coach of the opposition team in God?
Of my memories
As an opposition coach?
as opposition to Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
in other words, coaching South Africa. Look, I have some wonderful memories of this ground coaching Sri Lanka, and I have some terrible memories of this ground coaching South Africa. We had a terrible match here where I know Sanath Jayasuriya was 96 not out at lunchtime on the first day, and we ended up losing by an innings and 200 or something runs, absolute annihilation. So at that stage, this wasn't a very favourable ground in my list of ground rankings, but more recently it's become my favourite ground.
Thanks.
And then Case dominated on day one. Were you surprised by that?
No, I think we've been bowling quite well as a whole bowling unit, so no surprise Joshy hit a spot all day again, and was probably unlucky not to take more wickets. So I think we've worked really hard, obviously, for the last few weeks on all our bowling, and Joshy and I obviously got the results today, and we've seen a bit of spin obviously late on today as well.
Mitch, was there a pronounced sort of time frame, 50, 60 overs, where suddenly things started reversing? There was a sort of discussion amongst you that's going there?
Yeah, a little bit. I think Josh obviously started getting a bit of reverse first, and it was going a little bit, and we thought, obviously, if we could hit that rough side a little bit more, hopefully get a bit more reverse, and obviously it did. So I think Joshy bowled really well reverse. I was lucky enough to get a bit of movement, and Mitchy Marsh bowled pretty well with the reversing ball as well. So I think we did that a lot better this game, and I think we looked after the ball, the rough side of the ball, a bit better this game than we did obviously in the first test.
Which, so far you haven't really gotten, I guess, that new ball conventional swing as much in these couple of games as you have at times in the past. Talk to us a bit about sort of where you're at with that, and secondly, what you guys worked with Alan in the middle a couple of days ago?
Yeah, well, sometimes it just doesn't swing as much for some guys. For me, I guess it didn't swing too much in the first inning, in the first test, but did enough to obviously create a few chances. Today I was finding a different way to take wickets, and then obviously get that ball reversing. So there'll be days where it swings a lot more and days where it doesn't. But I think Joshy bowled pretty well with the swinging ball early on as well, and then obviously with the reversing ball. With AD, I think for me, I've been working pretty much on that delivery that got Mendes out pretty much with that reversing ball. So pretty pleased that it's come off throughout the tour, and it's something that I've worked with him since being in Colombo, and then obviously through the last couple of weeks as well. So AD's been great, and I think we've all got a lot out of him so far, and hopefully it continues for the rest of this test and the third as well.
Mitch, the battle with Mendes, how did you sort of see that, and how important was that?
Yeah, he's obviously a good little player, and knows his game really well, and obviously we saw it in the first test. He backs himself and can be aggressive when he wants to, and I think we just got to change our game plan a little bit from that first test, and he still batted quite well today, but it was nice to get him out before he got the 100 anyway. But yeah, that wicket's pretty flat. It's got no pace in it, and probably going to take a bit of spin. So I think overall we bowled quite well to all the batsmen today.
Will?
Mitch, obviously a late wicket of day one there. Who's come out on top of day one?
Yeah, not great to lose that last wicket. It'd be nice going into stumps, none down to be honest. But yeah, look, it's still a pretty good batting wicket. There's nothing in it for the Quicks. Obviously, their spinners will try and get as much out of the wicket as they can. We haven't seen the left arm Chinaman yet. So yeah, look, it's probably a pretty even day. Nice that the Sri Lankans didn't get away from us with the bat, especially the tail, a bit like they did in the first test. But yeah, I think as I said before, we bowled quite well to their whole lineup today, and nice to see Dutchie get his first test wicket. It's always nice to see that. So yeah, I think overall it's a pretty even day.
Rainbow and then grey.
Mitch, you've made a habit of getting wickets in the first couple of overs in this series, but have you ever got a wicket before the first ball of the match?
Don't think so in Test cricket. So yeah, I think we spoke a lot about it before the series about how important the new ball will be for us and for the Quicks. So I think we've done that really well through the 3 innings that we've played. We've taken early wickets, and obviously they've built up a couple of partnerships in the second innings of the first test and throughout today. So I think we've got to be a little bit better through that period where it's not swing either way. They got away, I think, again from us a little bit. They took the game on and came away with a few runs. So I think we can get a little bit better there, but I think, as I said before, we were pretty good today with the ball on a pretty lifeless wicket for bowlers, for quick bowlers anyway.
Graham and
Yeah, Mitchell, you seem to have grabbed I think it was your left calf at one stage. Is there any sort of problem there at all?
No, just cramping. Yeah.
Mitch, how did you think the 2 spinners went, and how do you think they'll go later in the match? Can you just talk about, Dutchie's regarded as a bit of a practical joker or pretty casual? Or, I wonder how he responded getting his first wicket with a full toss.
Yeah, he's been pretty quiet throughout the day, obviously being his first test, but fantastic to see him get his first wicket in his first test. The first one can sometimes be the hardest one to get, so fantastic for him, and I think that'll just relax him a little bit, especially for that second innings. So I think he did a pretty good job on test debut. Nath obviously knows his ground better than the rest of the bowlers in our group anyway, but yeah, I think he'll come out and be better for the second innings as well. Yeah, overall I think as a bowling unit I think we were pretty good today, as I said, on a pretty flat wicket. There was no pace in it as well. A couple of partnerships where the Sri Lankans batted really nicely. So as I said, we've got to be better through that period where it's not doing much. Maybe draw up a few runs as well and not let them get away as quickly as they did today.
Mitch, congrats on the test wickets today as well.
Thanks.
You obviously had a long period where you were in and out of the side a lot, and then looked like you were getting consistently in the side and you had injury. Do you think really now, both physically and technically, you're able to be a consistent and dominant test match bowler now?
Physically, yeah, I think that little 6 month or the 6 month break I had with my ankle, my foot, was really good for me to get some really good time in the gym and build up that strength that I lost probably throughout the Ashes series and the one day series there. So I've been really happy with where my body's at physically leading into the Tri series in the West Indies and obviously this Test series. So I think I'm starting to get that consistency back in Test cricket anyway, building up through that Tri series in the West Indies, and then after the first Test, it definitely wasn't the best I bowled in the first Test, but started to get a bit of rhythm back through there. So I was pretty happy with how that came out today, and I think Joshy and I really enjoyed bowling with each other and in partnerships there. And look, he can hit a spot, and he's a genius at that, and allows me to bowl as fast as I can and as aggressive I can from the other end. So I think we work really well together there. So it's nice to be back and hopefully be around for a lot longer than I have in the past probably.
Just one on David Starc coming in as the assistant coach after this. Have you guys spoken to him at all yet, or how's it going?
Yeah, I've spoken to him through emails. I haven't worked with Dave before. I've heard good things about. Obviously, he's had some time in England, speaking to a few of the Victorians on the Tri Series tour. I've only heard good things, so I'm excited to work with him later on. But at the moment, it's working alongside Alan Donald in this series to hopefully win this Test and then go over to Colombo and try and win a series. So look, we've we've always got great guys around us, whether it be Craig McDermott in the past, Alan Donald here, David Saker coming up. So I think it's really good for the bowling group, and obviously to have a guy now locked in for the next 3 years, I think having that one guy there to work with us moving forward, I think is really good for a young group.
Last one, Jude.
You and Josh bowled really well together your first spell, then you both came off quite early. Was that a pre-existing plan, or would you have liked to roll a couple more overs at that point?
I bowled 6 in a row, so yeah, look, it's up to Smithy. See how he sees the game, and there might be times where Joshy bowls a bit longer. He might want to try and bring a spinner on earlier over here. It's up to him. So we just get ourselves ready to go for when we need to bowl long periods or not.
It wasn't a particular